Hello. It's a wonderful Thursday afternoon and almost a week into the new Crucible League. And I just want to do a quick video on where I've been able to take the build that I made a guide for and had to make some alterations for. I might go over that in a sec. I just want to do a bit of a build review on where I've been able to take it. As you can see here, I'm up to, I've done the Eldritch, like the mini bosses, the pinnacle bosses. I've been able to do that. I've gone to the point where I'm doing Maven tier 10s, but I'm kind of stalling on this because Maven bosses can be rippier, and I've been caring a lot about experience. We've gotten up to level 87, placing us quite high on the ladder. Not as high as a few other Boneshatter Juggernauts, although they're doing a lot more party play than me. I am primarily playing solo for the mostly for the freedom of movement, so I don't have to worry about other people. I mean, Consecrated Path lets us go very, very fast sometimes. The main things we've been able to accomplish, though, are due to a couple of nice, unique drops. One of these is Sinvictor's Metal. We got this very, very early on. We were able to go very, very fast through stuff of this through the Rampage. Really catapulted our damage early. An axe with this kind of PDPS on trade can set you back a few alks at least, if not more, depending on how greedy people are. I got a Crucible passive tree on it, and it's pretty terrible. It adds some cold damage. Really don't care about that much. It's like no cold damage whatsoever. I don't understand why, because this thing has quite high item level. Anyway. This is terrible because we're Precise Technique. This is terrible in general. This is also terrible. This is pointless. Yep, yeah, so as you can see, the weapon range is slightly nice. Because it gives us strike range, and the increased attributes aren't bad. But to get there, we have to go through reduced attack speed, and it's just not worth it. So unfortunately, this node here, one of the things I really don't like about these trees is when you have a forced second node. Like, your first node can be but this means there's we need both of these nodes to be good for this kind of tree layout to work, and it just doesn't do anything for us. We were able to get a couple of geodes, and we did one of them to get this, and you can just run through everything in the geodes provided you have enough movement speed and a little bit of tankiness. So if you're worried about using uniques and being able to craft on them using the mechanic, you're missing out on some value not killing the monsters, but they've now had heavily nerfed the damage reduction and stuff, so it's not too bad. So yeah, but yeah, this tree is terrible. I'm kind of looking to replace this, or at least find a Sinvictor's Metal again that I can throw a better tree on. Probably not even going to try merging the trees, just try to start again from fresh. You've probably noticed something around my waist. I have a replica headhunter. I've never felt my heart want to leave my chest more than when I saw this at the back of a Grand Heist. I think it was during the 5th Grand Heist I've done so far. I've been able to do an average about 1 Grand Heist per day, which is pretty good because the amount of gear you get from them. I can go in my stash in a sec. I'm just going over here because there's a bit less ambient noise. But yeah, when I Yeah, well, I've been doing one grand heist per day, and when I saw this and had to carry it out of a heist in the previous wing, I had been lasered down from max health to about 100 hit points, almost killed one shot off screen by some rare that had fully charged up its I want to kill you beam. Um, in one of it's one of the scarier kinds of heists, and so I was very worried just running around with that, thinking I'm just going to disappear, get one shot, or I could disconnect. I had a DC earlier in the day due to my house internet shutting off and restarting, so I lost a contract to that. All sorts of things could have happened to stop this, but thankfully it's safe in our possession. That's always the scary thing with heist. Once you see something this cool, you're never guaranteed it, especially in Ruthless when you're squishier and slower than the average character. You have extra things to worry about there. But we've been able to get it. And because we have this now, we've been making a few modifications to the build, one of which is I've dropped brutality support, but we do have a 5-link at least. Again, not a bad achievement to get the 5-link going. We bought the base for this for 10 AUX. And we threw a fossil on it. I wanted lightning res, so I threw a lightning fossil on it and got nothing. And unfortunately got a regen mod, which is titled Of the Troll, which is very convenient. So I've had to take off the mastery for 15% increase max life. But in return, I just put on a 6% max life one. It's not too bad. It's like a 9% increase difference. And to be fair, on the old tree, I wasn't taking the 10% increased life with reduced recovery node anyway, so it's not put us in a terrible spot. If this actually had a real life mod or didn't have the regen though, it would be even better. The chaos res on this means I'm probably going to be using it for a very long time. I'm thinking of crafting a better one eventually once I have enough money to afford another base and then start throwing stuff at it until it sticks. But you know, for the meantime, this is going to be fine. Big thing here, we've dropped brutality in this 5-link because Replica Headhunter is giving us random monster modifiers, including extra damage of elements and chaos. And if we have brutality, we don't do that. At least it doesn't convert those things, at least. We don't lose damage if we have brutality, but we don't gain much. And it's very helpful for things like Delve and heist contracts, because you get like blue packs in there. It helps us clear out stuff faster. It's just better. So I've gone with Impale. I did say in the guide I wasn't thinking Impale was good because it's going to lower the average hit damage, so that's our ability to stun that's worse. And I don't even have Harpooner. Yeah, I got the 10% node so far. We're going to get this later. I think when I next level up, I'm going to burn a regret, lose a bit of life, and get the DPS I want, so I can just churn down map bosses faster, because it's getting to the point where I should be able to use my DPS as a defensive tool more than anything else as well, even though I am really tanky. Speaking of defenses, we are still running. We got Determination. We bought our Determination. I don't even know where it is. There it is. We bought our Determination for about... well, it was like 33 AUX plus a couple of gems I had lying around that weren't selling but were somewhat valuable, and he took a trade for those. We bought this a couple of days ago, we bought it quite fast. And part of the reason we bought it quite fast is because we were able to get a lot of money with Heist. I'm going to go over to my stash over here. There's a bit of atmospheric noise around here, but it'll be fine. So, in our cash money section, you can see we have a lot of replicas still lying around, and basically I'm just listing these for what I think are reasonable prices and slowly dropping them until they sell. So we have 2 more replica Bitter Dreams. If Crip is watching, I'm sorry, I'm taking all of them from the server. I'm just going to lower these now. Part Exemplar. Like, there's some very cool stuff here, for instance. Like, the Replica Aura Sacrifice, though it increases the damage you take, the actual elemental DPS on this is pretty high, which makes me wonder if it would be useful for some kind of Frostblades build in Ruthless or something. It's kind of cool, but it's not really selling. We have a Replica Abyssus. Someone put an offer of 5 AUC on this, which I will take if it doesn't sell to anyone else, but it's quite rare. And yeah, all sorts of random stuff. The weird thing about Heist in Ruthless is you don't just get to price check a lot of the things you get in Grand Heists. You have to game knowledge helps a lot here when if you understand the value of something on site. But otherwise, if you trade search for something, you'll often find zero results, even if you search offline, because not many people are doing heists. So what you get to do instead is guess for the large part, or you take commissions. I did get 6 AUX from a guy called Dr. Crucible, who pinged me when I was advertising the other stuff I was able to sell for highs, and he said, if you can get me replica Bones of Allure, I'll give you 6 AUX. So I got replica Bones of Allure. You'll see there's another one in there now for anyone else who wants one. I can sell that to them as well. He was very happy to pay that much for it, which was very nice. It's very hard. There's not much concrete prices to things, so you might sell something one day. I saw this axe, a Sinvictor's Metal, listed for 5 AUX, and then the only one listed now is 15. I saw an Immortal. I sold an Immortal Flesh for like 4 to 6. I can't remember. 4 to 6 AUX, and I think that's a much more expensive belt than I was selling it for. But I saw that very early when people didn't have currency, and I just wanted the currency to jumpstart my character. Other things to review on this, I've been changing around this gear a lot aside from the boots. I got these earlier on, bought them for just a couple of AUX with the Chaos Res. I think they're worth a lot more than what I paid for them. They're really nice. Pure armor, not a crazy amount of armor, no other elemental resistances, and no life. But the Chaos Res is too valuable. That's why we're keeping this as well, because we hit 21% Chaos Res on this. That's tier 3. And these we bought for 5 AUX. I don't know if I don't think I overpaid for these. There's a decent amount of armor. There is life. Good chunk of res. The fire res I don't need. My constant problem in life is I am overcapped on fire res by too much. This has been up to 200% at one point, which is annoying. I have been able to take off diamond skin from the tree and be comfortable on res. That's given me 2 passive points back. Really helpful, though I am still running Weathered Hunter, and I do need the res from this currently for cold. If I can find, my GG gear probably has a bit more res than this and some accuracy, and when I can find that accuracy, I can drop this whole wheel here. I can drop most of this, hopefully the whole thing, and that's like 5 points I can throw somewhere else for damage. That's pretty significant, but we're keeping it for now because it's huge quality of life. This hat I found, no, I bought this hat, but I only bought it for an AUK. I have like 5 other hats. Let me show you my gear. I'm getting to the point now where I'm storing stuff that I don't need right now but could be useful later. I probably don't need a chest anymore actually, because I have a 5-link now, but these are a couple of old chests I was using. And what's nice in Ruthless is you can hold on to this gear with different kind of resistances and swap between them as long as they're interchangeable, just to fix your res. So like having these different hats, like this one doesn't have any rarity on it, but it has the lightning resistance. So if I ever feel like it's justifiable to drop the rarity from this, actually no, I don't need that one anymore, do I? Because it's just strictly, well, it has more life. I probably don't need this one anymore. But these two are important. These both have rarity and have different res. Again, this one has fire res. This was part of my problem earlier, having too much fire res. Speaking of res as well, you can notice the goodbye Nico. I've still got 2 rings. I would love for these to be amethyst rings, but you know, you can get what you get. I currently have all the chaos res I have from other pieces of gear. This I found. I kind of stopped for a second when I found it because it's a shit ton of life and decent amount of res, and the recoup also isn't bad. It's extra. It's another layer of regeneration on top of our leech, on top of our regen. Now we have recoup as well. It's not even bad. And then this I also found, and this is insane. It's a mana leech ring, so I've been able to drop this point here. I'm not going for the leech mastery. If I decide to go out of this, because really all this is doing is giving me lightning res and leech right now. The fire res I don't even need, which is made me want to search for rings with just lightning res and leech and buy a cheap one with life as well or something to get this life total up, because it's not that high. But yeah, I took this off. I am considering at some point trying out the instant leech for an extra defensive layer, but it is 3 extra points to get to it. 3 points is a lot. That's a lot of just base life I can get. The instant leech is going to help me while I'm clearing, but not necessarily against big one-shots as much. while I'm not able to hit things, so I don't know if it's worth the investment. I don't if there's anyone else who's taken it in Ruthless, or just in general. I mean, regular game might not be too comparable. Please let me know how you're finding it. But yeah, this is week 1 gear for a reasonable amount of playtime. We've been playing. I've had work for multiple days since the weekend, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I haven't had a full week of constant playtime, but I've been playing a lot still, more than the average player probably. But still, this is a lot of the help I got for accelerating my early clear was due to dropping a Singvector's metal. I've dropped 3 of these as well. This is a common amulet. I included this in the guide partly for that reason. I thought it was common because I dropped 2 in the gold event as well. Like so. The problem with this now as well, aside from the fact it also gives fire res, which we really don't need, is I'm thinking of dropping to... Why am I going over here? I'm thinking of dropping Unstoppable soon. I need to get some more regrets. I have some campaign mods I haven't collected, so that shouldn't be too hard. But we're going to drop the 14% movement speed from this, probably. And we're going to take Unbreakable. And when we take Unbreakable, I think I want this to change to a Winter Heart. Partly because Winter Heart gives us the cold res to overcap. And if we overcap our res enough, what we can do is take this off when we find the accuracy on our gear. So all we need to do is find a bit more accuracy, maybe on our hat, although this also needs the int, because we are running... Oh, look, my aura disappeared. We are running some smart gems. We're running Consecrated Path at a high level, and we're running Vulnerability at a high level. So when we get the cold res from that, and it makes us immune to chill, which is huge quality of life, and means we get a massive amount of regeneration if anything actually freezes us on the spot, which is just going to stack on top of... It's 10% life, which gets increased by 40% by our Ascendancy, so I think that's 14% life. I guess it gets added on top of our base regeneration right now, which is 314 per second, so... Yeah, it basically doubles our regeneration per second, which is, you know, it should basically make us theoretically immune to freeze because we can't die while we're frozen because we're regenerating enough life. My worry is I'm not going to lose much damage, I don't think, with this, especially because I'm going to get the... Once I can 6-socket this, I'm not going to do that until I have more jewelers. I have like 37 right now. I'm not going to risk it. I don't want to get to the point where I run out and I've got like 2 sockets left and I have to fuck around with it more. Once I get 6 sockets on this and get the proper link set up, we're going to get precision on arrogance. I actually dropped an arrogance, so we can use that for that. And when we have that, we're no longer going to be counted as full life when we reserve life. So that 60% increased melee damage is never going to proc. It doesn't actually have crazy amounts of uptime right now, I think, anyway, because we hit ourselves with Boneshatter, and often we're hitting again before the regen has fully... I don't actually know. I haven't seen how it maths out. I haven't seen if the DPS is... You can't really tell with all the other buffs that are going on if the DPS is stable or not, but I'm... Theoretically, it's up sometimes, but not all the time. It's not an effective 60% increased melee damage modifier. The movement speed, though, is very nice. And if we swap to Winter Heart and swap up Unstoppable, we're going to lose 24% movement speed. But that's still going to put us in the range of acceptable movement speed. We're going to have like 35, right? It's not great. But we can always try to find movement speed in other places. Like we can throw Eldritch stuff on these boots until I think you can get bonus movement speed on your boots that way. I could even try to enchant the boots. I'm thinking of starting to do Uber Lab runs just to get my pieces enchanted with relevant stuff. Though I kind of want to find a GG hat before I do it, because once I enchant a helmet in any way that's meaningful for my build, I'm not going to want to change it for a long time. Because there's a lot of things I can do that are interesting for the helmet. Like I can get reservation efficiency for, I think... Or did they... I don't know if they took that out. I actually don't know if they took that out. I think you can still get the reservation efficiency enchantment for like determination, and that might mean we can fit another aura in, which is exciting. I don't even know what that would be, but still. The main thing I'm worried about losing on this is the strike range. Ancestral Cry is fine for giving us extra strike range. It gives us the +2 up to max up, yeah, so it gives us loads of strike range while we're clearing, so that should be okay. But it's huge quality of life when trying to kill bosses that are stinky and you don't want to be next to them the whole time. You can kind of place your totems down, make them hug the totems a bit, stand a bit to the side, and then you're still hitting for full damage from a good distance. Although we kind of want to be close because we have close combat support. You don't lose. It doesn't drop off that much if you're not right next to them, but it does drop off a bit. So, you know, pros and cons. So yeah, this is. Aside from this, I mean, maybe pretend I'm holding up my hand with the cursor and covering up the headhunter. This used to be a belt with like 100 life total and some lightning res on it. A decent belt. I sold it for like a couple of AUX, but nothing too crazy. I had a better one technically with cold resistance, but I put on the lightning one to fix my res when I changed some gear around. And maybe ignore this. I mean, you can find a PDPS axe with, you know, that's about as good as this ish. I think it's like, was it 420, 430 PDPS in total or something? It's a good roll on attack speed as well. The tree is shit though. You can find an axe like this eventually, or buy one. If you're so self-found, you might be using a worse one for a while. But if you're for trade, it shouldn't only take a few AUX to find something okay, something passable on trades that doesn't have the rampage, obviously, but you know, the rampage is nice mostly for things like delve. It doesn't have the craziest uptime when mapping because of the reduced pack size in general. But a lot of this gear was funded by, not even by Heist. Heist has been a good part of it. It's been great for experience. Strongly recommend. I might do a separate video on why I think everyone should be doing Heist. Or maybe not everyone, because if everyone did it, the prices might crash. No, but it's good for experience anyway. And otherwise, I think this gear is generally achievable on week 1 of a Ruthless League. I don't think you have to be crazy lucky. I mean, I have had some good drops. I dropped a Duresso's Devotion? Devoto's the hat with the movement speed and the chaos res and which I was thinking of using. 20% increased movement speed is nice, but it has no res, it has no life, it has no int. I have multiple hats that have int. I don't think it has int. And unfortunately that means it's way harder to fit into my build. I end up cutting a lot of other value from my gear or swapping other things around too much to the point I lose. Like the movement speed is nice, but we also have Consecrated Path, and as long as we're doing dense enough content, as long as we're doing stuff with plenty of mobs lying around, and Heist is dense enough, you have mobs constantly scattered around that you can zip to, Delve is super dense, and the average maps we're going to be doing now at higher tiers will have higher density as well. A lot of our movement comes from this rather than walking. And it's why, again, I'm so surprised that not many people run Consecrated Path on a build like this. I think it's partly the reason why you run a build like this, is to be able to make use of the instant teleport you get for this. Some things to review about the feeling of the build now, and how it's been to grow it. Because I've been through, when I did this on the Gold League, my totems were on ENR, and I would run around and I would like throw my totems down. You'll see them they're on alt now. I put them on alt because I don't feel like I need to throw them out as much. I haven't even anointed my amulet yet. I don't know what I want to put on it yet. I might put Panopticon. I probably should put Panopticon, but there's some other options as well. But I put my curses on here because when I was in the Gold League, my endgame setup did not really include much use of Warlord's Mark. I was just using a cast when damage taken vulnerability setup, and it was bad comparatively to self-casting. It's much better to just self-cast it every now and then on a big target. It lasts 12 seconds-ish, and that means when you're self-casting this, you can also have self-cast Warlord's Mark. And what self-cast Warlord's Mark is much better than having it on Mark on Hit or cast when damage taken. Mark on Hit will only trigger on rare and unique enemies, and you don't want to mark those guys. You want to mark normal enemies, so you can instantly stun them, get the rage. Just do that a few times when you start mapping, and then you have max rage, and you keep that until you need to press this button because you want to win a fight. This is your win. I want to win a fight button. The stinky rare comes up to you, or you're a bit surrounded, and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna press berserk. Yeah, it's a lot of value, and you can also just use it as a taxi button because it gives you 30% more movement speed, so you can just zoom with it. It's not too bad for that either. So I put my cursors on here instead, and we have our totem up here for because this totem has maim and cull on it, so that's nice for randomly throwing out while we're fighting. If we don't want to mess around with the alt setup, because the danger with pressing an alt on this build is our auras are here. Like, you could do a setup where you just take them off the hotbar after you allocate them to not have to worry about that. That is okay, but then you have to put them back on when if you ever die. I don't really want to do that. I mean, I don't plan on dying much anyway, but we could always explore that. We could put other stuff on here. We could just put the other totems on here for now, and then we have no worry about turning our auras off by accident. You can do that. Once you get to the point where you really don't feel like you're going to be dying that much, it's not going to be a ball ache being like, oh, hello, Tujan. Once you get to the point where you don't feel like you're going to be annoyed constantly by, that's incorrect, having to put them back on the hotbar, you can do that too. We can just have totems. Yeah, so I took Consecrated Path for my third gemstone. I didn't take Blood Rage for a very long time, partly because I didn't want to have to self-cast Blood Rage. It's annoying to keep the uptime on it. You tend to miss uptime on it if you're not paying attention. And Consecrated Path ended up feeling like a better clear speed boost than having a bit more attack speed from Blood Rage and the Frenzy Charges. Frenzy Charges, of course, are very strong by mapping, but we get them from Sing Victor's metal here anyway, so that confirmed for me that I didn't want to stress about that until I could get a cast when damage taken. Now, if you're still a self-found, you could actually go an entire league without seeing one of these theoretically, which is worrying. But if you're trade, they were selling for me. I got one for like 4 AUX. They're expensive. They're an investment. I muled the Molten Shell and just bought a low-level Blood Rage because I'm lazy. I could have technically muled the Blood Rage as well, but that takes quite a long time compared to just the Molten Shell takes 5 minutes. You have to break some eggs on another Marauder. It's fine, and you always want to mule the Molten Shell on your. You can do that straight away. It's actually a good strategy for leveling this character to make a mule who gets Molten Shell. And just zooms to that. Molten Shell and kill Hail Rake for the Quicksilver Flask. And then you make your main Marauder and you get Ancestral Protector, then you have 2 Quicksilver Flasks. It's a good idea. I didn't do it this league, but you should if you're starting this build. If you haven't started Ruthless yet and you want to try it out. Mule your Molten Shell and a second Quicksilver Flask, and it takes 5 minutes. Trust. More Blood Rage on cast when damage taken is fine. I think I went over in the guide. It's a bit less attack speed than max level, but it means it's constantly proccing as we're mapping, and we don't have to worry about uptime on it at all. If we pause for a moment after we go in and out of our map and like, oh, I've got to activate my Blood Rage again, I hate it. The number one thing I hate about Melee is having to manually cast Blood Rage. Which also reminds me, I don't even know if I put the skill effect on yet. I haven't. No, we have a skill effect for it. Okay, I'm going to demo that. Funny. Molten Shell and cast when damage taken as well. Like I've said before to people, if you're hardcore, you may want to self-cast this. Though part of the problem this build has, I guess if you're hardcore, you'll be going considerably slower. And I could just, I could put it self-cast on my middle click here instead of War Chief, to be fair. But this build is generally quite button heavy. I kind of like having this War Chief on this as well. It's kind of overkill having them all on here, but it means I can run up to stuff and pop this down without having to mess around with my too many keys. In the heat of the moment, it's helpful. I like it. We could put it self-cast on here, but I like the cast when damage taken because it means we're going to get that buff when we enter combat. That's why I don't understand people who put Molten Shell on left click on a build like this. You want Ancestral Cry because you want the buff from this to be up as much as possible. It's giving you extra armor, when you're around stuff as well. So you could try to manually pop this when you dash into packs and then make that part of your combo if you want to optimize the armor from it, but you're typically going to have a decent amount of power on this anyway, as long as you're consecrating pathing into things. You're going to be around enemies long enough. Should be fine. But there's an option. You know, you could self-cast this. You can have Molten Shell on left click. The problem with Molten Shell on left click, by comparison, is uptime when you actually want it. Your EHP is going to be flip-flopping, whereas with cast when damage taken, it's not just going to happen when we're taking damage already, but it's when we're hitting ourselves, and we're hitting ourselves when we're actually fighting things. So we're going to get this proccing when we're fighting things, which is better. Like other theoretical setups of this, you could drop the cast when damage taken, you could do Blood Rage on left click if you love the sound of Blood Rage, because you're going to hear it every second. It's horrible. But you could have self-cast Blood Rage on left click and self-cast both of these and drop the cast when damage taken. That is an option. I don't like the sound of that at all, partly because of the issues I get with hearing Blood Rage constantly. But yeah, if you are the kind of person who is constantly on Adderall and you want to press as many buttons as possible contextually, then that might be the setup for you. But I like this setup. I can right-click to any, if I see some mobs, I can right-click to them, I will teleport. Rog is not a mob, we don't teleport to him, but you know, it's quite fast. When we have Onslaught, when we have Frenzy Charges especially, this is basically instant. I could do a map in a second to demonstrate, and I'd probably die in the process, but who cares. Yeah, let's do a map. Let's just demonstrate what the build looks like. So we just did Black Star here. Go into the Door of the Explorer tab, or we can just do this tier 14. I'm gonna... Do I have a... I have a Resonator. I'm gonna make this rare. Let's do a Big Stinky. Let's demonstrate on a Big Stinky, and then if I die I can blame the map. Pick a fossil. Any fossil. We got these fossils... We got most of these from one city. One node in one city. We got like 5-6 fossils from one node, like earlier today. Defense modifiers, we don't really want to use these because it gives us minus armor stuff. Cold is fine. Cannot leech. Okay. So we have to chaos roll this. We want to run it because when I'm not running a cannot leech map, because that is perfect. That is absolutely perfect. Many totems. Oh no, it's Fizz Reflect! Okay, I burnt 2 Chaos Orbs to run this map. This is the problem with running red maps. When we have to... we could also have scoured and alked it, but the Chaos Orbs are fine. Temporal Change is fine, cannot be taunted. Reduced flash charges is a bit meh, but there's more life here. So, let's just demonstrate what this looks like here. And I'm just going to run... Let's run Eater of Pods. Get closer. Just for a quick second as well, our Atlas tree at the moment might look a bit terrible to some people, but I think this is ideal for what I want to do. I blocked everything but Heist, but I didn't do this straight away, I took this first. And when I took this, most of what I was encountering already was Heist. I just took this because I wanted to focus farm Heist so much. And we took Nico. We could have gone up here instead and taken this off, but it's not worth the refunds, in my opinion. We've got some Kirac mission chance. We get a decent amount of Kirac missions so far. I've been maybe a bit lucky on that. Our completion is at 68, so I'm one off from making this video funnier, but that's okay. We also rushed Sulfite Infusion just because it's the best node in the Atlas tree. I can't believe they didn't nerf this or change this. It just makes me happy because they nerfed this to fuck. This node is pretty terrible now. It's like you need this to run Alva, like you need this and you need this, and you'll notice on my I've got like 12 missions. I'm not running these. I'm gonna run these when I get to red maps. I'm not gonna run them with red maps. I'm gonna run Alvas at lower level when I have things like level 20 gems, when I have the survivability and DPS to attempt at 0. Because I don't see the point in running Alva early anymore. My map sustain has been okay. As you see, I'm doing a tier 14 map right now in week 1. It's not too bad. Speccing Alva early doesn't seem good anymore. Alva is still very strong. I would spec it later. You take all this, you take this, you take this. It's a bunch of points. We spec this later. We can spec it. I think what I'm going to do is when I get most of my enough completion and I'm not caring much more about Kirak missions, we're going to take off all these arms here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like 10 points, and we're going to take Alva with that. We'll keep this just for the odd extra mission. They give nice bonuses. You can get essences from them. You can get extra smugglers' caches, guaranteed and stuff. You know. I also kind of want to go up here because I want to take this, and we might as well take this once our rogues are higher level, because you can't take this before them, because you're just going to get 3, 4, 5 contracts when your rogue's going to do like level 2 stuff. It's more limiting. This isn't a great node to take in general, I think, but I might still try it out. You know, it just limits the number of contracts you can run with people. You want to run Gianna as often as possible, obviously. Another thing about Heist quickly, though. Huck is insanely good in Ruthless Heist. In regular Heist, you never run Huck, because no one really cares about the experience. Everyone's just loot, loot, loot. But in Ruthless, Huck, his experience bonus is really significant, especially when you're doing grand heists, especially when you're doing a heist at a good level. You're going to get lots of experience from running him. I would fit him in where possible, partly because as well you're not revealing rooms as much. You can genuinely open all the reward chests you want to without having that much reduction in alert level. Especially if you've got a bit of rogue gear going. I've got some rogue gear. It's not that much. You don't need much rogue gear to profit from heist. I mean, I say this, I'm running around with the replica headhunter, but in terms of profit, I've gained about 20 to 25 AUX from heisting, from selling stuff that I found. I found an anonymous discipline, and then move slightly away from this portal and hope not attract mobs. It's a bit loud. I found an anonymous discipline. I found those replica bones of allure. I saw the replica winds of entropy. A lot of cool stuff, and it's fun. It's just very fun to go into a grand heist room and see all the stuff, because in Ruthless you don't see unique stealies often, but grand heist will be like, here's 4 and a cool gem, pick something. It's like kid in a candy store kind of vibes. It's pretty fun. So I very strongly recommend specking heist. It doesn't help with map sustain as much. You can get map rooms, but you get a lot of value from it. Even if you're SSF, you can just find some build enabling stuff in there, or like me, you can find a replica headhunter and then you can start having fun. We should probably start demonstrating this now. So let's go. So I'm going to mark stuff, we can blink to stuff. You'll see me slam sometimes. That's when I think I've seen a mob, but it's not actually a mob, but I'm trying to blink to it. You can try to blink to stuff off screen. We don't have to do that though. We can just run around until we actually see stuff. You notice as well, there's a Crucible over there. I'm not doing it. I mean, I have no experience, so I might do it. I could do it right now. But these are tier 14 mods, by the way. Yeah, so Crucible, I haven't been doing much at all on this character, partly because I've been interested in... Oh my god, speed stroke. Okay, this map is no longer representative of our normal clear speed. Also with the speed stride, if I stand still for too long on a single target, I might kill myself with the self damage. You can see we have headhunter stacks up here. I have no idea what they do, but I know they're doing something good. It could be anything from like massive physical damage reduction bonuses that makes us have 1 billion armor, theoretically. It could be extra elemental and ailment resist. It could be... There's a rampage kicking off. Oh, I'm going to lose a rampage. Yeah, there's a rampage. Why do you get around there? So, okay, so that was with a speed shrine, but even without the speed shrine, you can see how quickly we can just cleave through a map and just... Like, remember, this is Ruthless, where most people playing this mode do not have this kind of speed. And when you have this kind of speed, it's basically like having a big quant bonus on your gear. There are lots of people who will... They will squeeze their gear around if they could just fit like a cool amulet, like a talisman, or a unique ring that gives them quant. Oh my god, Tropical Island, that's a tier 15. I should probably curse this guy. But you see, we can just stand there, and we can kill stuff even without cursing it, without putting our totems down really much, or whatever. You know, we don't have to optimize, we don't have to run up to everything and be like, oh god, I've got to put my totem, I've got to curse, I've got to bet my banner. No, we can just run around and kill stuff. It's fine. Like, the boss here will be fine. Watch this. Get a bit of rage from that guy. If bosses spawn ads, you really want to try to Warlords mark them to get that rage going. We're going to Berserk here to finish this guy off. And that's another fucking map. Look at that. So that's why we I threw a fossil this map even though it wasn't for completion, and that's because it was my only tier 14, and trying to guarantee those extra map drops is just way too valuable. There's a few more mobs in here. We might try to find them. Just in case we can drop another map. We should also be on the lookout for high-level... I kind of want a high-level axe base, but we don't have to worry about that right now. We can probably get one later. Because another thing with this build, this axe, I want to change this before I attempt like Eater or Exarch, because it's just not as strong for single target damage. I probably will keep it around for things like Delve, because the Rampage bonus is really nice. Where the fuck is everything else? Okay, I might try doing the Crucible here, but I don't have much to do it on. I mean, we can just... What I could do... Oh, hang on. I'm going to weapon swap now. I'm going to die to things and left these monsters behind. In a lot of cases with maps, I would have left the map already. I'm just clearing this one because it's tier 14. I just want to find if there's any extra mobs lying around, like these guys. There we go, okay. There's another nice thing about Rampage, by the way. It's animating these things for us, and those will distract enemies, so we get mobbed a bit less. Let's do the Crucible for demonstration. I'll weapon swap and throw this out. This is a... Oh, it's got a gem in it. Oh, my old Brutality sport. Okay, cool. We'll put this in here. Get my weapon swap, and then put my auras back on. Ah, slight problem. There we go. We don't have our auras on anymore. Our determination, at least. Right. Yeah, because this... I was throwing stuff at random stuff. Again, this tree is pretty bad. Some increased strength, some haste aura effect. Okay, I'm just gonna like charge this like a third of the way. Easy, moderate. That's already 50%. Hard. Okay. I don't want to go past hard. They've added the indicator at least. And we see, we're not taking too much damage, but we didn't really spawn any magic or rare enemies at least, and that's gonna get that. So that was quite safe. I just spawned normal enemies. I didn't drop anything. So, that's roughly what our mapping looks like. I mean, we can map a lot faster than that in like linear maps as well, especially. I don't know if I have any sulfite juice. No, it's not really. I know I can't show off a delve right now. Let me sell some stuff down there. I keep this in the weapon swap because if I don't keep this in the weapon swap, I will accidentally sell it, and there's no point doing the mechanic at that point. So, we dropped some maps. We'll probably do this later. Other thoughts on the build? A big thing when leveling this build is they've made it so Warlord's Mark now you have to choose between this and Ancestral Cry. It's up to you. If you take Warlord's Mark, you will want to keep with Sunder for clear for longer, because Ancestral Cry is kind of needed for Boneshatter clear. If you take Ancestral Cry, you won't have Rage. But it's not the end of the world. It's just kind of nice to have the Rage. Depends if you're actually reliably stunning things, which you should be on normal enemies anyway, but still your mileage may vary. If you have a shit weapon, then, you know, you might find it better to have the clear from Ancestral Cry, because it gives you more overlapping splash and explosions and stuff, you know, the stun from Boneshatter. And why is this on here? There we go. I keep Warband on hotkey as well. I have taken Bannerman. We want to be placing this for the adrenaline and the effect. So we want to ramp up our trauma stacks and then drop this, pop Berserk, we can finish things off. It's really nice. Yeah. My Boneshatter is level... where is it? 19. We're going to get them. When it gets to level 20, it's a huge DPS upgrade. In fact, I kind of want to get it to level 20 before I attempt Pinnacles, just because the amount of DPS we get per trauma goes up by 1%, so it's like a 33% DPS boost from the inbuilt damage scaling on this, which is insane. We're running Fortify, not Fortifying the Tree, because Fortifying the Tree is crap, I think, actually. I've kind of decided I think it's crap. It's too many points for the same effect as a skill gem that still gives a decent amount of hit damage. Couple of other things on the tree to look at, because we're at level 87, so just a few points off where I was tweaking with this build. And I would recommend, if you're tweaking a PoB, you do it around level 85. Anything past that gets a bit harder to push if you're not in a very comfortable spot with your build. Though a lot of these points can just be moved around, like if you need more life, take more life. If you need more damage, take Harpooner. You might want to take this earlier. You know, I've taken a lot of the small life nodes I wasn't taking before to make up for the fact I can't take up the Mastery. I've taken Corrupted Blood, but I haven't taken the Bleed Immunity. I can take that soon. Maybe I should even take that. I could have taken that instead of this 4% DPS. I just wanted this to help me push the Pinnacle mini-bosses a bit better, but they went down fairly comfortably. I actually failed Black Star my first attempt. That was before I got the 5 link. Now it's much better. Much better damage, and I also did the mechanics of the fight properly, which I wasn't doing first, which is probably why I kept dying. That was fine though. It's fine to fail those bosses once, and you can just retry them the next time. You can do a map of that tier. It's a bit of a reality check, but I'm probably going to take this for bleed immunity, and then I can change one of my flask suffixes into like shock immunity or something, which sounds a lot nicer for preventing one-shots than anything else. Especially those scary ones you can get in Heist. If you get shocked and then lasered by one of those big robots, that can hurt anyone, even with a very large health pool. I do want to increase my health pool, but Winterheart will help with that a bit. I could PoB that right now. Let's give it like big rarity. Let's give it a decent life roll, but not crazy life roll. So yeah, we get much. Yeah, we get like 100 and something health from just having Winterheart on. That's going to put us to a much comfier spot, because 3.7 life. We're going to be reserving a little bit of this soon anyway, because these are the things I want to take. We want to take this. We want to take this. Once we have Precision reserved. And that puts us at 89. So then at that point, I'll want to swap one of these life nodes probably. But then I drop down in life, see. So that's why I want Winterheart life, to get me back to at least 3.375. We can squeeze more life into this build if we wanted to. Especially, the big thing that's holding us back is that our armor doesn't have a life mod. It has this regenerate life mod, which is aptly named of the troll. So, yeah, you want a life mod, either a life mod, a good life mod, or the Mastery. We can't get either right now. We'll fix that later. We'll get more life later. Get more life when we're leveled and we don't need the life as much. No, we want the life for doing Pinnacles as well. We don't want to die. I also took off this. Because I PoB'd on average. I thought I'd be staying still for an average of 3 seconds, but I started looking at what I was doing in practice and then realized, you know what, actually, I'm moving around way too fast with Consecrated Path. Like, it's way too easy to just zip around. You can teleport behind stuff when you can kite stuff, and it reduces the damage you're taking better than just standing still. But that's not getting me any value really from that Mastery. So we could take this one instead if we want to be more crit resistant. This doesn't give anything, but I don't think it's worth it. I think it's fine. I think this is also our EHP with Molten Shell up. Yep, so it looks a lot worse. But yeah, we are considering dropping Unstoppable, taking Unbreakable. It's massively increasing our EHP. Look at that. It's kind of crazy. This was bugged for a bit. They fixed it now, so I'm glad I didn't swap immediately. We need some regrets for that, but We can take that, then... I don't even know if we take Unwavering Stance after that, because our stun threshold's going to be pretty high with how much damage reduction we have. I mean, it's a whole passive point. We'll be freeze immune. I feel like we can take the old stun. We're a melee build. We should be okay. I didn't take it during the gold event. And yeah, could try the Leech Mastery. I haven't anointed Panopticon yet, and that's a big DPS change. And part of the reason I haven't anointed it is because I'm looking to change Amulet soon to Winterheart. So if I can anoint Winterheart with Panopticon, that's giving us like a 20% DPS boost. Boom. So theoretically, you know, we're getting towards that nice mark of like we do have like about 1 million DPS already because it's not including totems. I mean, we can tick lots of boxes here to make PoB recognize the fact that we have totems. Yeah, so you can see Ancestral Protector even does a little bit of damage, and then Ancestral War Chief is over here. That gives us Cull, and boom, we're hitting the mill. That's fine. It should give us a slow but safe kill on pinnacle bosses, and we can push that a bit higher by just getting a real axe. There's a Replica Wings of Entropy in this PoB for some reason, I don't know why. It's not very good, I don't think. I don't think it's worth it, because PoB will say, yes, it's more damage, but it's estimating how many trauma stacks? More than that. It's estimating that I am sustaining like 42 trauma stacks at, especially with like a level 20 Boneshatter. I don't think we're going to sustain 42 trauma stacks. That's because that's like the maximum available from our attack speed, but that's probably with as Berserk ticked, Berserker's ticked. Oh, DPS is a lot lower then. That's fine. It's always like this. This is not a PoB warrior PoB, you know, we're going to untick Berserk. Still, you know, with this DPS we were able to kill Black Star, Infinite Hunger, fine, it's fine. I don't know if there's anything else that's really worth covering in this overview of where we've got. Biggest thing I would say for leveling this build, I really should have like had a leveling section for this discussion, because it's going to be all over the place now. There's like, you know, 20 minutes ago I talked about leveling, and here I go now. And biggest thing is like the increased armor from these things here. You know, you're going to want to take enough of this and level up your armor bases often. If you're taking Unstoppable Second, if you're not taking Untiring Second, you can take Untiring Second for like if you don't want to die at all. If you're playing hardcore, it's probably better. But though this is probably better as well. But I don't know, actually. I'm not a hardcore player. I don't know if the freeze immunity is better or just not killing yourself is better. But you need armor. You need to keep on top of your armor bases. I would just keep a white armor base on you most of the time while you're leveling, and just update it every now and then, unless you can find a really stacked one that has like an increased armor mod. Because you're just going to need, to get this. You're going to want to get, you know, the Soul of Steel here. If you don't get this, you're going to start hurting yourself. Even with like the most base attack speed from an axe, Vitality won't be enough. We don't run Vitality on the late game setup, obviously, but you're going to run that early to mitigate some of the damage. So yeah, plans for this build generally are either buying or somehow crafting a GG axe. Not GG, I guess, but like better axe than the Invictus for killing bosses. We're probably going to keep it for delve and stuff like that. It's just fucking nice. And if I get degenerate enough, I can even set up some kind of weapon swap in it. I can level some separate gems, and then we can actually swap. There's some theory behind that being valuable. There we go. So I think there's like 440 DPS. We need to beat that. I'm like live searching right now for 500 DPS access, and I find nothing. But yeah, we have that project. I want to buy another 5-link armor base when I have some money and craft on it more, so if I can get more armor and chaos res. I can slam chaos fossils on it, maybe. I don't know. I kind of like the chaos res on this. Don't want to lose it. We still have negative chaos res even with it, because our rings aren't amethyst rings. But yeah, we'll be having fun with the Replica Headhunter. we might want to consider even some kind of belt swap. But without the Headhunter, we do lose a bunch of... It gives attack speed, not much actually, no, but it gives accuracy with the dexterity, which is significant. That helps our pool. Oh yeah, that's a big thing with this life pool right now. If this life pool gets too high, because our accuracy right now is quite high on this build, it's like 4,200, but if this gets too high, if we get extra life modifier from a mob with Replica Headhunter, we will brick our precise technique. Unless we get like an accurate modifier as well. But so if you get funny interactions like that, it's not worth thinking around that much. But you can actually end up doing less damage because I'm wearing a head, you know, because you pick up the extra life mod. But it's fine. We do. I've cleared a tier 14 map with Cannot Leech that was like corrupted for the completion. That was fine. So this build can do a lot of stuff, even if you have to do it a bit slower. Yeah. So I think that's just about covers it. I've probably been rambling for about an hour now. Thank you for listening to this overview, and I'm going to try to push to 90 this week, slowly but steadily, doing a lot of delve and heist and higher level maps to achieve that. And we're going to see if that's what we can get, how we can achieve that as a solo player, because some other people in their parties are already hitting 90. I just want to hit it solo so I can kind of pat myself on the back and be like, hey, you did this, you know. It's like pseudo solo self-found, but you just buy all the cool gear you want and drop a Headhunter. But hey. But yeah, hopefully we can keep pushing. We can get Void Stones, and we can see about what kind of late game farming strategies we want to do with this Headhunter, with this build. Once we have our bosses killed. So we'll see.